Shalom and welcome to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth Am, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. This is a recording of our weekly Exploring the Parasha class with Rabbi Rebecca Schatz and Rabbi Matt Shapiro. I'm going to start with just some random musings, as I am wont to do, particularly being stuck here in quarantine in my house with my wife and my three young boys. My mind gets to wandering, and today I was thinking about baseball, and I happened to look up and to see that my favorite baseball team, the Chicago White Sox, are the favorite to win the American League Central. And I thought that maybe I misread it and I had too much schnapps to drink last night, but I rechecked it and that looked good. So why don't we start with just kind of going through the beginning of Tetzaveh until we come to the point that we are going to study. So I am going to share my screen, and there we go. So the beginning of Tetzaveh start, and by the way, this is a very, very, very philosophical and mystical Parsha. It's amazing the deep thoughts and mystical vibes that it elicits, particularly once one has had a fair amount of scotch to imbibe. But the Parsha starts off with talking about the costuming of the high priest. And I want to point out particularly verse number 4. And I want to read the Chabad translation of verse number 4 because it's actually much more relevant. And I think Safaria missed something. So Chabad says, and these are the garments that they shall make. A Shoshen, which in Hebrew is choshen, and for some reason it's translated here as a breastplate, but I don't know why Chabad does differently. An ephod, a robe, a tunic of checkerwork, a cap, and a girdle. Safari translate that as a sash. And I think what we learn from this, particularly, let's start off with the word choshen, which is translated as choshen. This is where we get the notion of us being the chosen people. And the fact that this God wants Aaron and his sons to wear girdles means that God is clearly concerned that they are getting fat from the manna, and it's not a good look for the Kohen Gadol and his progeny. We go on, and we get to verse 10. Again, it's just talking about the stones that should be, et cetera, et cetera. We get to verse 23, and it says, make 2 rings of gold on the breastplate and fasten the 2 rings at the 2 ends of the breastplate. The medieval Jewish S&M cult interpreted the 2 rings and the breast very differently than I think we might, but I think it's important to point that out. Finally, in chapter 28, let's move down to verse 42, and this is where I think the point about God being concerned about Aaron and his sons, their weight problems. It says, I'm sorry, I skipped one. So let's go to, the weight problems come later. But here's verse 42, which was clearly an add-on, okay? So it says, you shall also make for them linen breeches to cover their nakedness. They shall extend from the hips to the thighs. The fact that after all this elaborate stuff, you got to wear this, you got to wear that, the stones, the rubies, whatever. And God said, and by the way, you got to put on a pair of pants. Clearly, God was fearful that Aaron and his sons were going to walk around with their junk hanging out, and that just would not have been a good look. Anyway, so we move to chapter 29, and in chapter 29, we start talking about the sacrifices. And this is where the weight problem comes in again. I kind of jumped the gun there, which is verse 13, where it says, take all the fat that covers the entrails, the protuberance on the liver, and the 2 kidneys with the fat on them, and turn them into smoke upon the altar. Clearly, God's figured out that if he didn't specifically say, get rid of the fat, right, Aaron and the sons would have been, oh, this looks good, chow down on it, and it would have just made their weight situation worse. And I will point out that the final words of that phrase is thought to be the inspiration, where it says smoke upon the altar, is thought to be the inspiration for Deep Purple's smoke on the water. Anyway, we finally get to the verses that we are going to talk about, which is verses 20, 21, and 22, and I will read them out loud before turning them over to Rabbi Schatz. But here we really see the deep meaning of the Torah and how, there's never anything random in the Torah. Like stuff that you read and say, what the F is going on here? It's not the case. This is such a great screaming example of it. So verse 20, slaughter the ram and take some of its blood and put it on the ridge of Aaron's right ear and on the ridges of his son's right ears and on the thumbs of their right hands and on the big toes of their feet, and dash the rest of the blood against every side of the altar round about. Take some of that blood that is on the altar and some of the anointing oil and sprinkle upon Aaron and his vestments and also upon his sons and his sons' vestments. Thus shall he and his vestments be holy, as well as his sons and his sons' vestments. And finally, you shall take from the ram the fat parts. Here we go again. The broad tail, the fat that covers the entrails, the protuberance on the liver, the 2 kidneys and with the fat on them, and the right thigh, because we all know that fat gathers in our thighs, for this is a ram of ordination. So, Rabbi Schatz, I will turn it over to you for the Kushiyot and some further commentary.
Okay, so these lines were both intriguing but also confusing. And so since I am such a visual learner, I thought I would bring a visual to explain them. So I am going to share my screen now. Let me figure out how. Okay, so I did some work to get a lot of visuals that would really explain these lines because they're really not simple. And so these were the lines that Rabbi Shapiro read and explained. And let's just take them apart visually so we get a good idea of what actually is going on here. So starting with line 19, just as an introduction. First, then take the other ram and let Aaron and his sons lay their hands upon the ram's head. So this is pretty clear. We're settling the ram down. We're kind of calming it, getting to know the ram, and then slaughter the ram. Oh, wait, not the right ram. Slaughter the ram. So here we know what's going to happen here. Didn't want to show the visual completely so that we could get through this class. But this is the shofet, and you slaughter the ram. Take some of its blood and put it on the ridge of Aaron's right ear and on the ridges of his son's right ears. So you may have some blood trickling down the face, but the main thing is get some of it on the ridge of the ear, okay? So I think that's clear. And on the thumbs of their right hand. So some of the blood goes on the thumbs and on the big toes of their right feet. And I just want to say, don't look up blood in big toes. Just don't. Between bunions and fungi, it's just not. Don't go there. But hopefully we have a visual in our mind. Dash the rest of the blood against every side of the altar round about. And here's just a warning. Altar, blood, there's a lot of other religions out there that use those symbols. So just take note. And then finally, take some of the blood that is on the altar and some of the anointing oil and sprinkle upon Aaron and his vestments, and also upon his sons and his sons' vestments. Thus shall he and his vestments be holy, as well as his sons and his sons' vestments. So we need blood everywhere. Okay, just have a visual of that. There's going to be blood everywhere when Moses is anointing Aaron and his sons. Finally, the last line, you shall take from the ram the fat parts. And again, there's the tail. Not sure what the deal is about the tail and the fat on the tail, but according to the internet, it's a delicacy in the Middle East. And there's the fat that covers the entrails. I spared you the real images of that, the real visual. There's the protuberance on the liver. So I think none of us could deal with that. So this is what you get instead, a cute little kitty cat. The kidneys with the fat on them, and then finally the right thigh. So this is a ram of ordination. So I really hope all these visuals helped you understand these lines a little bit better. And before we actually go to the kushiyot, since I have the screen open, I'm sure that one of the questions that will come up will be about why the big finger, right, our thumb, and the big toe. And so for me, that was like a question I don't think I could read the lines again without first answering why, for heaven's sake, our thumb and our big toe. And so I have a visual for that. I found a source, and there's some visual with that as well. So let's look at that quickly, and then we'll ask some more questions, and maybe the esteemed guests we have with us, the Rabbanit and Mr. Fishman, will help us with answering those. But why the big finger and the big toe? So there are various explanations for the various body parts that are being anointed in this Parasha. But none of them are very helpful for someone as visual as me. So I finally found a reference. This is not so much a commentary, but more of a reference to these lines from Ben Yehoyada, who this is commentary from a commentator from Iraq from the 19th century. So again, you have a visual here of his face, his turban, his beard, the whole deal. So he was talking about the sort of the very direct relationship that Israel has with God and the other nations don't have. And he explains that you can see this in our fingers. So Israel is referred to as the big finger, the thumb, while the other nations are the rest of the fingers. Why is that? Well, most of our fingers have 3 joints, while our thumb has only 2. Why is that? Because we don't need that middle joint. We don't need the middleman between us and God. We are able to enjoy all his bounty and our direct connection without the middle joint, while the poor other nations need the middleman. They need that 3rd joint right here in the middle. I hope you can see that in this visual. The other thing he says is he continues, and in the continuation of this source, he also talks about the big toe, which in the Bible and in modern Hebrew is called bohen. And I think I'll use my pen here to kind of show how he explains why the big toe is significant. If you look at the letters of the big toe, and it's right here, hopefully you can see my pen here. If you look at these letters, and he's a little Kabbalistic here, he likes looking at the letters and their numbers, and you take one off each letter, you go from the Bet to the Aleph here, from the Hey to the Dalet, and from the Nun to the men, and you get Adam. So it's pretty cool. Our being humans and being in the image of God comes through our big toe. I think this is a really, really satisfying explanation for why we anoint the Kohanim on their big toe. It is so gratifying that I thought it would be interesting to look at other body parts and see how they connect us with God and with religion, with our Judaism. And so again, to be visual, I have the Aleph Bet here, and I thought of a few body parts that might be significant. For instance, our head. So if we look at our head, that's the word Rosh. And again, let's do that same thing. Let's take one letter up with Rosh. So Resh goes to Shin, Aleph goes to Bet, and Shin goes to Tav. We get Shabbat. So the most important body part, of our body, the most important body part of our body really is Shabbat. What does that mean? Probably means that a big part of our relationship with God is through Shabbat. And I'll let you ponder that. Let's think about the center of our body, our tummy, okay? Which we call in Hebrew beten, right? Let's do the same thing. Let's move one letter up. When we take Bet, we go to Gimel. We take Tet, we go to Yud. We take Nun, and we get Samet. What is this word? Gis. And we all know, I'm sure you all know that Gis is the word for brother-in-law. So, of course, the center of our body and the center of our life is our brother-in-law, or rather maybe our family. So you see here that the center of our religious life really should be family, and that will be part of our connection with God. So I could go on and on with this. Really, every body part here will point to another wonderful aspect of our religious life. But maybe I'll just end with a silly part of our body, our hair, se'ah. This is another one that we can look at, and if we do the same thing, we take Shin, we get Tav. Let's ignore the Yud and look at Ayin. Ayin is Pei, and Resh will become Shin, right? And if we put that back in, and we switch our Tav to a Tet, we get the word Tipesh, which definitely is an indication of how silly this all is. So I think this is the good point to say Chaim with apple juice.
Well, I actually have some Nissim Black Scotch, which is he's a black Israeli rapper, and he now has his own whiskey. So I would drink to that. But Rabbi Schatz, I'd also like to point out a interesting minhag that I discovered in the research, which is from the Las Vegas Rebbe, Rabbi Bugsy Siegel, who used the inspiration from line 20 when he needed to sacrifice some of his colleagues for skimming from the synagogue/casino. He would put blood on their earlobe and on their big toe and other recommended places to commemorate the lessons that we learn from this Parsha. So I will, and the other thing he did, which is
hey man, like what is God like just some kind of mob boss or something? like what's the deal? I mean, that's not groovy. That's not cool. Like, what's up with that? That's not okay. Totally undude, man. Totally not chill.
In fact, what I would say is that so Rabbi Schultz took this even a step farther. There are 27 words, and this goes back to the number stuff that we were talking about earlier. There are 27 words in line 20. So he took that as an inspiration to play 27 black on the roulette wheel and put down $10,000 at 35-1. So this is why this is such a meaningful Parsha. So l'chaim, everybody. Alon Pieshman and Rabbi Sarah Goldstein. I don't know whether you guys want to take over at this point, but
l'chaim.
Far out, man.
I hope you don't mind if I remove this. So uncomfortable.
I'm actually going to thinking of keeping this as a look, so I'm just going to try it out here.
You're good. You can keep it on as long as you'd like.
Totally.
Alone, anything you want to share?
I'm like pretty spaced out, man. Rabbanit, what Rabbanit, is it pronounced Rabbanit?
Oh, no, it's pronounced Rabbanit.
Rabbanit?
Yeah. Okay.
Rabbanit?
Do you have words after that, or?
I got lots of words, man. I got like dodecahedron.
Do you have?
And I've got like supernova. Whoa, what's that noise? That's far out. I've got bunny rabbit. I got bunny rabbit.
I'm just gonna let you keep going.
I've got pickup truck. What words do you got?
Well, I was just wondering if you had any kushiot, like questions.
Oh, like what's the deal with the ears, man?
Yeah.
What's up with ears? I mean, like, how do they work? My ears aren't bloody. Why would I want bloody ears? I don't want bloody ears. Who wants bloody ears? Sounds terrible. I want clean ears. I've always said that. I walk around and I'm like, man, I want my ears to be clean. Who wants bloody ears? Dude, once I saw my sister get her ears pierced and it like blew my mind. I did not want this body's a temple. Man, this body's for God. I'm not messing with that. This body's for God, man. I don't want blood. Blood stays inside. Clean outside, man.
So I'm just gonna take us back to the Torah just for a minute, because
I'm talking about the Torah. Torah says blood on the ears. I don't want blood on the ears.
Yeah, you're sharing your Torah, which is great. I'm gonna take us back to the Torah.
Look, we all have Torah inside us, man. Each one of us. We're like a letter in the Torah. Okay. The world isn't complete unless we're all present in this world doing our deal. It's Purim. God's hidden, but God's within all of us, man. I'm keeping it chill. I'm just trying to say, like, I want to keep it. I don't want blood. I just want peace. I don't know. That's what I want.
Yeah, it sounds like there are a lot of things that you could tell us about what you want. I'm going to take us back to the Torah, and we're gonna look at these verses. And as Rabbi Schatz pointed out, some people on here are visual learners, so I'm going to actually share this for a moment.
Dude, I had some sick visuals last night, man. I was like seeing. It was like Sinai, man. I was like seeing the sounds and hearing the sights.
Okay.
Whoa. It was a whole thing.
Not done.
Like when they said Haman and they said boo, I was like seeing red. Yeah. And then they said Esther, and I saw like this amazing, like powerful tigress coming out of me into the world to free the Shekhinah. It was, whoa. It was trippy, man. That's all I got.
Okay. Well, every time you say that, it's not all you've got. So I was just wondering. I was just going to.
We all have so much inside of us to offer. It's infinite. Just like God, like the Ein Sof coming out of us always into the world. That's all I got.
Okay. Great. So if we look back at these verses that Rabbi Shapiro and Rabbi Schatz so beautifully introduced to us, and especially the words that Rabbi Schatz, this is very difficult, that Rabbi Schatz pointed out, that turn into the idea of Shabbat and the idea of Mishpacha, which is just such a beautiful way of thinking about how this might connect beyond just the parts of our body, but into something more holistic, or at least more connected to what we might be used to. If we look here at the three parts, the right ear, the thumb, and the big toe, one of the things that I always think a lot about, and if you need to see a visual of an ear, Alon is now sharing that with us because no one else has an ear quite like him. So,
do you want to see my big toe, by the way? Because I can help with that.
Yeah.
All of us have very special ears. It's like a fingerprint or the palm of your hand. Like everybody's ear are snowflakes, man. Like, have you ever really looked at a snow? It's beautiful, man. Beautiful. Just like ears. Ears are beautiful. Why would you want blood on your ears? I don't want blood on my ears. That's all I got.
Okay. So if you think about the ear and you think about your thumb and you think about your toe, there's something all-encompassing about that. Just like if we think about our week culminating in Shabbat, that there is something that it has to come to an end, that we need to be able to culminate in something like Shabbos to be able to bring that wholeness to our lives. And God willing, Bezrat Hashem, some might say, that there would be families like that also, that the people around you in your family would also bring you that wholeness and that completion, just like the top of your body, the middle of your body, and the bottom of your body. So maybe because Rabbi Schatz invited us to do some kushiot, we will keep Alon muted, but if anybody else has...
Hey, man, you can't silence the voice of peace in the world. The voice of peace...
That's true.
You can always hear it if you just listen closely enough, man. Just like God from Sinai, if you just listen closely enough, if you just listen, it's like, oh.
Poor Bernie, I did mute you. Poor Bernie, this is your first time to this class, and it is not always like this. So just
you can't mute the voice of peace, man. The voice of peace is always there.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody have any kushiot? Any divinely inspired?
How come you're trying to mute me, man? That's my kushia. Yes. Why are you trying to shut me out?
Yeah.
Okay, Alan.
Yeah, well, you inspired me, Rabbanit. You were talking about the ear and the thumb and the toe, and they're all having blood on them, and they all culminate at the end. And I guess that's really important because at the end of the week, what's more important to focus on than the Torah?
Ba-dum-bum. Very good. Very, very, very good. Awesome. Renee, you have a kushia or a piece of Purim Torah.
I just want to say that, you guys, none of you guys mentioned the index finger, and, having cut the nerve in mine, I just want to say it should get as much prestige as the thumb,
Happy, man.
Yeah. Because it really interferes with challah baking and hamantash baking. So, we need to find something written in the Torah about the index finger.
Exactly. Why the thumb? Why did you have to pick that finger, right? Why can't we pick the index finger or the ring finger or the peace sign fingers? Thank you so much.
Well, they didn't want to pick the middle finger. That would have been bad, I think.
That would have probably been bad. And I'm sure you, Rabbi Shapiro, might have a story to tell us about a middle finger. Do you have a story?
I don't.
Hey, man, maybe we should just remove all of our middle fingers because that's a finger of hate. I want fingers of love, man. That's a great name for an album. I'm going to record an album. I'm going to call it Fingers of Love. That's going to be awesome.
Right. Anybody else have any kushiot? Any questions?
Did the song Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes come from the ears, fingers, and toes in this section? Was it originally ear, right ear, left finger, and big toe? No?
I think it might have been. I think it might have been. You're
make
right.
sure you don't get blood on your ear.
That was it?
Yeah, I don't want blood on my ears, man. That's all I got.
But actually, on a serious note, why this? Is there any reason for this specificity? It does actually. What I found truly funny about this is it's just like kind of random, like, and weird.
Yeah. It does seem to have some kind of specific. Oh, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. My internet's a little bit wonky. It does seem to have some kind of specificity in terms of like sacrifices in general. I mean, obviously that's not exactly what's happening with these body parts, but just the type of body parts and where the blood would go. None of the commentators to point out to us what exactly kind of originated these three body parts. Except for that we mean the middle of the ear, we mean the cartilage, right? They're just talking about those elements, but it does get brought up later in the Torah when we're talking about sacrifices again. So it's possible that that's where it came up. Alon, did you have anything to share about that? An answer maybe to the question?
Rabbi Schatz looks like she might have something to say.
I just wondered if you had an answer to Rabbi Shapiro's question.
I mean, man, Rabbi Shapiro asked the best questions. Those are like questions without answer. Like, who could possibly...
Okay. Yes.
Questions that Rabbi Shapiro's asking. That's like next level stuff, man.
Way to toot your own horn. Okay. Rabbi Schatz, what is your question?
So, I was wondering about why 2 rams, why this is the second ram. What is the business where it says that it's an ordination ram or in Hebrew miluim? That whole part I don't get really what that means. The first one goes to God, the second one was used to anoint. I don't know.
Yeah. Alon, do you want to take this one? Do you have an answer? Or do we want to just leave it as kushia?
Leave it, man. Leave it. That kushia needs to chill. You know what I mean? Just needs to chill for a bit.
Okay. All right. You heard it here first.
Like,
any other kushia?
Rush it, man. You can't like rush. You got to let it have its process. Everybody needs their own process. You just like let the truth come forth. You can't like push it. You can't make it, go any faster than it needs to go. Everybody just needs to like let it happen.
Mm-hmm. No? Okay. Alon, do you want to bring your piece, which is maybe a little bit more funny?
Man, I'm always bringing peace. I'm always bringing peace. Wait, right. Is Rabbi Goldstein, are you glitching out or am I glitching out? Like, who's glitching out here, man? Somebody help me out. What's going on? Uh-oh. Rabbi Goldstein, is that on your end or is that on my end?
My end.
Oh, because I was like having a flashback there for a second, man. I was like, whoa. Like,
no, my internet is quite bad today, so.
I mean, we're all a little unstable, man. You know what I mean? We're all just like a little unstable, but we just got to roll with it and accept it and find, whatever can center us. You know what I mean? Totally. Okay, so check it out, you guys. Like, I found this really groovy thing. It's like legitimately groovy. Okay, so there's this dude, super cool dude. They called him the Ish Yehudi, which means the Jewish dude, like literally the Jewish dude. And apparently he was Reb Shlomo Carlebach's uncle. And when you think groovy rabbis, you think Reb Shlomo. Like, he was like one of the top 3 grooviest rabbis ever. I don't know. Rambam, not so groovy. I know the Rabbanit likes him. He was kind of a square. But Reb Shlomo, definitely very groovy. Anyway, Ish Yehudi, he said that the ear, which I don't like that it's bloody, but whatever, it's cool. The ear and the hand and the foot, that it's like, that's what a leader should do. Like a priest, he should be able to hear the people, and he should be able to bless the people like this. You know what I mean? Doing that whole deal. And with the foot, to run to help the people, because the people need help. So you hear the people, you bless the people, you help the people. Now check this out. This is an Alone Peaceman Purim exclusive. For real. What if, groovy folks, you could apply those to the mitzvot of Purim? Check it out. Got to hear the Megillah, ears. Hand, give me shlach manot. That's 2. Feet, run to help people, man. Run to help people. Matanot la'avyonim. And then you're supposed to eat the Purim Seudah. So after you've done all of those mitzvot, you can eat and you can chill and you can be like a totally integrated person. Boom. Purim Torah. Mitzvot. I think that's pretty groovy. I just came up with that.
That's awesome.
My own mind.
Good job.
Yeah, man. I pay attention. I know what's up. You think I'm just spaced out, but I am tuned in.
Well, speaking of, does anybody have any comments on that actual real Torah? The first real thing that a lone peaceman has said all day.
But what is real? I mean, how do you define real? I think that's from the Matrix. Oh, that's the Matrix. I just watched that on TV. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Very good. Anyone want to share anything about that piece? I do love that connection. I think that's an awesome way of bringing together the Torah and the Chag, especially because Shushan Purim is, in fact, over the weekend. So it technically falls on Shabbat. Okay, so bechavod to Rabbi Shapiro, I am bringing in a piece from Rabbeinu Bachia, who is going to bring in something not actually on this week's Parsha, but
also a groovy rabbi. He was very groovy.
Also a groovy rabbi. Wait, who? Rabbi Shapiro or Rabbeinu Bachia?
Yes.
Okay, very good. I lost my train of thought. Oh, bring a piece of Torah on, not this week's Parasha, but on Parashat Tzav, actually, where this comes up again. And so I want to share that with you here, since we've all learned that a visual is a good thing. We're not going to read the whole thing, but I do want to read a piece of this. So what Rabbeinu Bachia says is, he placed it, this is the same idea of Torah, but it's not the same exact verse. So I'm going to read it here because it's not exactly the way it's written in Shemot. He placed it on the middle part of Aaron's right ear, on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot. Okay. I believe that the symbolism, Rabbeinu Bachia says, of these 3 procedures is connected to the 3 parts into which the universe is divided. The world of the angels, the world of the planets, and the terrestrial part of the universe. This seems like a good alone piece today.
Whoa.
Moses had been commanded to make the tabernacle symbolic of the 3 parts of these 3 parts, of the universe. Whatever was inside of the dividing curtain, the parochet, represented the world of the angels, disembodied spirits. Anything inside the sanctuary but east of the dividing curtain represented the world of the planets. The courtyard of the tabernacle represented the terrestrial parts of the universe. Seeing that the high priest embodied within himself the awareness of his creator and all these different visions of the universe, it was important that this idea be given concrete expression and that his very body was treated as if it too consisted of 3 parts, each representing one part of the universe. Man himself, and my conservative colleagues might say humans themselves, may also be viewed as a microcosm of the universe. The 3 parts of a person represent the world of communication by means of speech. The head, the part which corresponds to the world of the angels. I'm just trying to decide when to stop reading. The world of the chayut, physical, biological life, is from the chest down to the loins. This portion of man contains the heart, the source of all motion. The heart is perceived as issuing the directives which result in every move made by man. This part of man corresponds to the world of the planets, whose whole function appears to be their movements, their orbits. Okay. So I thought that was such a beautiful way. It goes on and on, as you could probably see on my screen. But I thought that was such a beautiful way of describing how, similar actually to what Elon shared before in terms of the Purim Torah, but that this piece from Parasha Tetzaveh could actually bring us to talking about the tabernacle and how we as a body, which is also known as a tabernacle. I hope that on Facebook everyone is just looking at Elon because he is spotlit from all his movements. So I'm just going to spotlight myself. That we are able to actually see our bodies as tabernacles, to be able to hold within us all of those different levels of existence, the higher, the middle, and the lower. And as we know from Chassidut and from different ways of thinking about our connection to God, there are different levels. And yet all of that is within us, which I think is just such a beautiful way of connecting to something that might seem extremely obscure and out of the realm of our normal everyday, and bring it back into how we can approach our existence. Alone, other than dancing around, do you have anything to say?
Love that, man.
Ooh.
Love that. Love that. Body, soul, connection, tabernacle. Bodies are a temple. That's why I don't like blood on my ears, but otherwise, love it. Love it. Rabbanit, you're like so into Chassidut. I didn't even know. I didn't even know how into that stuff you are. That's awesome.
There's not so much halacha around this piece of Torah. So
Rabbanit, are you ready for me to blow your mind? Because I found a piece of Chassidut that proves why a lyric from Fish is accurate. Are you ready? Are you ready for me to blow your mind?
I only understood 20% of that sentence, so yeah, I'm very ready.
I found, it's like crazy, because there's this piece from the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, which I think you know this guy, Rabbi Aaron Alexander, and if he heard me say that, his skin would be like crawling, like with bugs on a bad trip or something.
Yeah.
But there's this piece from the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch about these verses, that's about the halakha of these verses, and it proves a Fish lyric.
Okay.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm. I've read this piece and I'm excited to hear what the lyric is. So.
I don't think you're even ready, man. But here we go.
Screen too. Wow, we've all.
Yeah, man. I'm a lover, not a fighter. Like, I'm hearing all this stuff about being a visual learner, and it's like, I don't need it, but I love my fellow man. I love my fellow woman. I love my fellow people, and I just want to help everybody out. So if that's what I got to do to make people feel cool, then I'm cool with it.
Keep going. Yeah.
Great, awesome. Whoa, what's going on behind me, man? That's awesome.
Okay, kids are Shulchan Aruch.
Well, hold on. It's over there too.
Should I read it for you?
It's on both sides. It's on both sides. Okay. Whoa. Okay. Oh, I'm reading. Okay. Cool. Here we go. Okay. Reading. Think about reading, man. You're looking at the letters, and then your brain puts them together into words. That's whew.
Okay.
That's wild. Do you ever think about Rabbanit? When was the last time you really thought about reading and what your brain is doing when you read? When was the last time you really thought about that? That's amazing.
I would love to be reading right now.
We're all really reading the book of life. You know what I mean?
No.
Think about it. Okay. Since we find that the Torah gives deference to the right hand in regard to service in the temple, that's all that sacrifice stuff, and in regard to the thumb and the big toe, Rabbi Shapiro was going to show us his big toe. I don't know what happened there, but I was excited to see it. Referred to in the Miliuim. Is that like where you are? Miliuim. And purification of the Metzora. Is that like the baseball team? The Met of the purification of the Mets. They're not doing so good. Purification of the Metzora, and in the mitzvah of the...
Yeah, good luck with this one.
Chalitza.
Chalitza, yeah.
Chalitza. Yeah, that's like when you're having some challah, but it's like the chalitza.
You should probably just...
Yeah. Therefore, in dressing... Oh, Rabbanit is gone. Where'd Rabbanit go? Her mind was blown. She got her mind blown. Ooh, she's like freaking out over there or something. Therefore, in dressing and in other activities, you should begin with the right hand or foot as opposed to the left hand or foot. Right over left. When removing shoes or other clothing, you should first remove the left because this shows respect for the right, obviously. However, in regard to tying a lace, the left is held in higher esteem. Man, like, I don't like valuing one thing over another, but it's just interesting to think about it and to hear where he's coming from, because we tie the tefillin on the left hand. Now, here's the thing, y'all. I'm left-handed. Surprising no one. But I am left-handed, so that means I'm going to do a flip-flopperoo on this, and I wonder if it will be the other way around. Therefore, when you tie your shoes, you should first tie the left. So think about it. Think about God when you're tying your shoes. For example, with shoes that must be tied, he's not talking about sandals. I mean, I wear my sandals everywhere, which probably isn't too surprising. I wear my sandals everywhere, but, you know, if you're tying your shoes, if you wear shoes that you got to tie. With shoes that must be tied, not all shoes need to be tied, but some shoes do. Sometimes you just got to do it. With shoes that must be tied, put the right shoe without tying it, and then the left shoe and tie it, and then the right shoe. This applies to other clothes. So when you're putting on your clothes, you're like doing a whole thing to connect in to God and sacrifices and blood on your ears. It's like a whole groovy thing, man. And like Fish says, whatever you do, take care of your shoes. Bow, 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 bow. It's a real Fish song. It's called Cavern, and it's a jam. Y'all should listen to it. I don't know where Rabbanit went.
I actually...
Oh, Rabbanit is back. Oh, she's back. Oh, you're back, Rabbanit.
When I read this halacha, which I already knew, but I would have never put it in connection to this piece of Torah. I was so surprised that they had to take something so far-fetched to like say, oh, this is where the halacha to do your right shoe first comes from. Man. And I'm left-handed, so I hate the whole right-handed is better thing. And so
V'na'afochu, man, v'na'afochu. That's what's up. Flip it around.
But that's not what they're talking about here.
Flip it around.
When you flip around, your sunglasses went to your head, the back of your head, which is...
Flip it around, man.
Oh. Can you see that happening, everybody?
Flip it around.
When Elon turns, the glasses go to the back of his head on Zoom. It's great. Whoa. Yes, I agree. This is it's a very cool connection. A little bit of a stretch, which I would never say about my Rabbonim, but I do think it is a bit of a stretch. Elon Peaceman, I think that we should break character for a moment to just thank our fantastic...
What do you mean break character? Oh, whoa, I don't know if you guys know this. Oh! I'm not actually a lone peaceman.
What?
I'm Rabbi Matt Shapiro. Whoa!
Whoa! There's literally nothing I could do to look different.
Whoa!
But he can't be Rabbi Matt Shapiro because he is not wearing a white T-shirt.
That is true. He's not wearing a white T-shirt.
That's true.
But seriously, this was
Yasher Koach.
This was a Rabbi Matt Shapiro idea, the original Rabbi Matt Shapiro idea. And we're glad that you are here to see it. But really, all of the credit goes to Elon and to Rebecca. For A, just saying yes, and B, for taking it. I mean, Rebecca did more prep for this class than I ever do. So, it was just incredible, what the two of you put into this, and really thank you. It made it a very fun Parsha Purim, class experience. And Rabbi Shapiro is going to finish us off with a l'chaim. So I will turn it over to him.
Everyone, I think you guys need to take it on the road.
They need to take it on. The new Rabbis Schatz and Shapiro 2.0 need to take it on the road. In all seriousness, it is great to have different people teaching this class. I really do believe this, not just Elon Peaceman, but as me. Every person has Torah to teach. Everybody has something to offer. Hester, we don't hear God's name in the Megillah, but God's name and God is within each of us and all around us. That is both Rabbi Shapiro and Elon Peaceman talking through him. And to that I say, L'chaim, everyone. L'chaim. Have a wonderful Purim. Purim Sameach.
Shabbat Shalom.
You have been listening to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth Am, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. If you enjoy these podcasts, we invite you to write a review on the Apple Podcast site or wherever you get your podcasts. For more information about Temple Beth Am Los Angeles, go to tbala.org.